Hey everybody, it's Carl again. And one of the most given advice to new GMs and folks looking to up their GM game is the concept of yes and, which is from improv, where you say yes and you build upon the idea as opposed to saying no, that doesn't work, or you just can't do that. You find a way to help the players build the narrative by saying yes and in your mind and how you do things. Problem is, yes and can sometimes turn into oh no, and that happened to me. He's just a murder hobo, ho ho, min-maxing on his sheet. She's just a murder hobo, ho ho. Hi everybody, this is Carl again with Tabletop Tango. Really would love it if you subscribe if you like what you hear. We're going for 1,000 subscribers, which gives us access to some of the community tools, which would be pretty awesome. So I haven't if you've watched any other videos, you know that I have a campaign going on right now where the players are gods. Basically, they've come into godliness as a Savage Worlds campaign where it's essentially using some of the superpowers, companion, some other things that we built, me and my friend, and they're just kind of learning their power. And there's another set of gods that are working kind of against them. They have an agenda, and the agenda is to kind of tear down all the institutions of the world and kind of rebuild it in their image as, you know, benevolent dictator in a sense, and the players really aren't all that keen on that. Well, one of the things that this villain that they're after is doing is he's building an army of essentially mythical creatures. He's got things like Medusas and Cyclopses and things like that and they've figured out finally how they're being created, and they go to this base of operations where these creatures are being created by magical incantations. They drain the power from ancient artifacts, religious artifacts that the last time that the gods appeared kind of took some of that energy and holds the energy, and so it's kind of a battery for that kind of power. Simplification, but that's sort of what it's like. So they defeated the minions who were there. The gods they're opposing were not there, but a bunch of minions. Some of them were wild card priests, that sort of thing. And when they finished, they found sort of the cave where all these boxes of artifacts were stored. And they said, that just doesn't seem right. There's just not enough here. There's something bigger going on for them to do this creation. They sort of bypassed the obvious a little bit, but they said there's got to be more here. And I said, well, maybe there is. Sure, let's play along with that. And so I allowed them to find kind of a statue of Vishnu that was in perfect condition, radiated this aura, and they picked up on that and they brought that back to their base. And now they're going to try to use this to create their own army. And I was like, oh no, I yes-anded, understanding that there was something interesting that they wanted to see, and now they're going to take that, and now they want to build an army of their own, which is completely different than what I had anticipated. Each adventure was leading up to potentially a mano a mano, their adventuring group of gods against this other adventuring group of gods, and so now I've got this weird thing. Do I just say no? Do I not let them create their own underlings, which seems kind of unfair on the surface because the bad guys have figured it out. Why can't the good guys figure it out? So again, a little bit of a yes and, but what I decided was you take a step back and you say, okay, I've created a new part of the story, a new direction. The players have driven it. They're excited about it. They want to see where this goes. And instead of saying no, you run with it. And so what I'm going to do is take that as now it's a whole new campaign thread. It goes beyond sort of that part that we were working on, and now there's this whole other area that they can explore. And so I can do adventures of where they have to figure out how this power emanates. and they've just done that adventure where they've gone and found a detector off of one of the colliders that existed in ancient times, years ago at Fermilab in Chicago, that wasn't disused, and they went and they bringing that back. I know those things are pretty big, but they're bringing back and learning about this and getting the data so that they can understand how this power emanates. Well, then we can do an adventure as they try to discover the magical incantations, what it takes to make this work. They can't just use the spells they've got to learn other things. They've got to find some ancient magic or something like that. So that's another great adventure. And then they have to figure out how, once they learn how to make this, the bad guys were basically using volunteers, cultists, and turning the cultists into these creatures, these living creatures into other living creatures. Well, what are they going to do? What kind of creatures, or what can they do to imbibe this energy of the army they're trying to create? And is there a moral dilemma that comes along with that? Or do they figure out something else where they don't have to do that? So now I've got this whole other path of adventures just because I said yes. And I went, oh my God, I've opened up this Pandora's box. But I can see where there'll be some interesting things. And what's really cool is now the campaign, maybe it shifts away from that one-on-one to something much more epic scale. Now picture they're building out their army while the bad guys are building out their army, and now these armies start clashing, and it's, the players are playing gods, so now they have entire cults or religious groups that are now beholden to them. They've already rescued a bunch of people from a kind of an internment camp who are now under their sort of protection. They have cultists that are starting to believe in them because of one of the things the player did before in releasing a foe back into the wild after showing their true color or their true God self. So it makes a lot of sense to have them start building out sort of that angle, and it's really cool is because now, like I said, it can be an epic battle. Now we're mass battles. Now we've got them commanding an army. The others are commanding the army. Are they doing something to limit their army? There can still be adventures where it's very personal. Maybe they do come in contact with the bad guys, but in the end, it's all about the control that they're trying to push. And maybe the bad guys now have their army taking into the institutions that this person's trying to bring down. They're basically trying to tear down all the institutions, from military to corporate to whatever, so that they can build up the world in their own image, where everybody bows down to their godliness and their power. But that in itself is a problem, right? And the players don't like that. So I yes-anded to give them something interesting that they thought really should be there. And I said, sure, why not? Let's have that there. And I went, oh no, what does that mean? And then I looked and I said, well, now they're trying to do something that's completely off where I wanted. They want to build this army, but that's cool because there's adventures I can build. I can build a whole nother arc of the campaign. And the main arc maybe isn't this one-on-one. Now it's something bigger. So don't be afraid to have that yes and just like blow you out of the water. Just take a step back and say, well, what's that? Where's that going? And what does that now mean to my campaign arc? And maybe there's something more interesting. And that's the whole purpose of yes and. So maybe it wasn't a no. It was exactly what a yes and was supposed to be doing anyway. So hope you enjoyed it. Carl Davis again with Table Talk Tango. Like, subscribe. Love to do some of the community stuff. That would be awesome. And we'll catch you next time. Thanks a lot. Bye. He's just a murder hobo. Min-maxing on his sheet. She's just a murder hobo. Munchkin